interface we now already have as a tag preview in 3.0, but it's not activated by default. You can activate it if you want to. And in 3.1 this will be the new interface and the only interface for a Rev environment. It's browser-based, it's independent of whatever browser you would like to use, so you can use Internet Explorer, you can use Chrome, Safari, Mozilla, Firefox as I use here. And what you see here is, I use the mouse pointer, it's a quite neat interface. I'm running this Rev environment here from my laptop. It's a tweak environment. This laptop contains 8 gigabytes of memory, it's an i7 processor, and I have an external USB disk using local storage as a platform for my guests. So what you see here is that we have several tabs, one stating data centers, clusters, host, storage, virtual machines, etc. And first of all, let's have a look at data centers. Data center tab is where you state how your data center will look like, what it consists of. It's probably a geographic location that you mention here. And in a data center, and I can create one for example here, name, test, description, doesn't matter. You here say what type of storage you will use in the data center, in your location. If you have more types of storage, you will need to create more data centers in your environment. Yeah? So you can't mix and match those different storage types at this time frame. Later on we have this in the roadmap to address that. You can use as storage NFS, iSCSI, the fiber channel, or local disk support. Yeah? And local disk, with local disk you can't do a live migration or high availability, of course. But what you can do is for test development purposes, you can use that. It's quite neat. Mostly in enterprises you will see or iSCSI or fiber channel or NFS. So when you created the data center, and I've got one up and running here, that's my laptop, that's Rev Test. You create in that data center one or two or several clusters. And clusters is another logical unit. You can see that as I make a cluster for production environments, I make a cluster for test development environments, and I make a cluster for QA, quality assurance, whatever. And in a cluster, you put up hosts. So, for example, on the test development host, you put in one cluster, or on the department level. I have only one node at this time frame in my cluster, since I only have this one laptop. Yeah, but you will see more and more hosts, of course, in a production environment. And if you have more hosts in a cluster, you can do live migration of systems from one host to the other in the same cluster. I have one up and running here, and there's an exclamation mark here that sounds a bit strange. Why is it there? It's only there because I don't have power management features on this laptop. And that's what it's looking for. But it's not there, so this is an alert. But you can ignore this one. I've got this one host, and you can see the specs here. It's running RHEL in the background. The different levels of KVM, 3DSM, iSCSI initiator. I've got 4 cores here active. Memory page sharing is not active, etc. And what you can see here is one virtual machine active at the time. These are the statistics of it. I've got a network interface on this host, only one. If you have several, you can use bonding of network interfaces, so you can trunk security. And storage, I now have one active storage domain. That's my disk over there. That's not that big. And I've got a storage domain containing ISO images. So this is a shared CD, DVD library, so that which I can use to provide standard images to a desktop, for example, or to a server. And then the virtual machines. I've got 2 here. Windows active at this time frame, which got its own network interface defined, virtual I/O. It's got a virtual disk, which I can use in thin provisioning, virtual I/O, I use as technology, can create snapshots, I can see what applications are installed. These are assist functions for RAV in the operating environment itself. So here you can do almost everything, and you can also do the security. So you can say who has access rights to the server, for example, who can access via the user portal or the self-service portal. Now you can use a snapshot. If I go have a look at this machine, it's running already. That's a pity. I could have started it. Because if I have the option to start console from the Rep Manager, and then you get this frame. I think you all believe that it's up and running right now. For performance, it's about 85 to 90% of compared to bare metal. So that's quite good. It's KVM underneath. We are all. You can use templates and tools to provide basic images, VMs that you can host everywhere in your environment. And for pooling, that's definitely a VDI thing, virtual desktop integration. What you can do is have one image and deploy that, for example, to 20 users or maybe 50 VDIs also. Alright, let's switch back to my presentation now. They control that from upstairs. What I said, we have several ISPs working with us together. Acronis I mentioned already, and backup recovery, for example. We have WISE and Agile for terminals. We have vKernel to measure performance in the environment and to define policies when action should be taken, when a VM should be migrated from one host to the other, for example. We can do that. We have several, and there will be more coming out. Now, performance, I stated earlier, about 85–90% compared to bare metal with RAV. We did a benchmark earlier this year, the SpecVer benchmark. We have published benchmark results for 2-socket, 4-socket and 8-socket environments. We're the only ones who publish it for 8 sockets also. You know all, there are lies, bigger lies, and there are benchmarks. So benchmarks, everybody is trying to get the max out of it. We published great results, we're on top of the list, and we're the only ones with the 8-socket environments. Now, cost comparison. What about cost? We don't have licenses, we have subscription. So you don't have upfront cost. We're about 50 to 70% cheaper than equivalent products. Here you see an example with VMware vSphere. So over a time frame of 3 years, it's great to see. Here a comparison, and you can all download this presentation if you want later on. A comparison against RAV and VMware, yeah, clear information. Now the subscription. We don't use licenses, we have subscription, so you have the right to use the code that we provide. But subscription is not only code providing, it's support, it's knowledge base, it's forums, it's patches. We guarantee a product for a lifetime, for a life cycle for 10 years. That's quite a long time. So that means if you go for RAV right now, the 3.0 product will be supported at least 10 years. If we have 3.1, 10 years, and so on and so on and so on. So that's good. Now, besides the subscription and the no license, because there is no license, we have services. We have education program, a good reputation we have there. We have a completely new training on RAV 3.0. It's called the Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization training, of course. You can certify on that also. And we have services, and one of the services, this is one of many, is the RAV Accelerator program. This is help that we provide you to implement a basic REF setup. So, open source, and you heard a lot about it. This was the timeline from KVM to REF 3.0. Familiar probably. What I will say with this slide is that we will have the same cycle, support cycle, as we do with RHEL. So if there is a new version of RHEL or a new minor release of RHEL, 6.3 is coming up, you will see that REF will follow that. Now, we all know RHEL every 6-7 months get an update, gets a minor release. So that schedule will also be followed by REF. And the next version of REF is based on RHEL 6.3. So that's where we go. We will get all the technology benefits of the new operating system environment straightly into REF. You don't have to wait for new features. Are there any developments on KVM? You will see them in REF immediately. How am I on time? How much time do I have? 20 minutes? And then it's 5. Yeah. All right. So the same release schedule as RHEL. We open sourced REF in November last year to Over. And open source, I don't know how you look at open source, but it's not only getting the code on a CD or DVD and post it somewhere and let everybody play around with it. Open source is much more. We did that, of course. We gave the code to the community. But what you see now, and who has had a look at the Over site, over.org? All right. Do you see any differences already from REF 3.0 and what Over provides? Yeah. We do like that. But there's a big difference. It's picked up by the community very fast at this time. What you see now is that the web admin that I showed you earlier on is providing a lot more functionality than REF 3.0 now provides. We port that into REF, and we do that, but we have to do Q&A. But you will see that live snapshotting, live storage migration functions that we now use in 3.0 are developed in Over right now. And Over is driven by the community, so that influences the product. That influences also what the prioritizing will be within REF. How fast will something adapt? If the community is getting it and customers are talking to Over and talking to Red Hat, you will see that functionality soon in REF. Now the Open Virtualization Alliance, who has heard about that one? Was it today or yesterday? The Open Virtualization Alliance, it started up in May of last year, the 11th of May I think. It was started by HP, IBM, Intel and Red Hat, and it quickly grew. About 250 members are now active in the Open Virtualization Alliance, and the Open Virtualization Alliance has an aim to promote Open Virtualization, to promote KVM against others. So these are big names that are joining us, and Over is a part of that. So who's using REF? IBM you see, Qualcomm, lots and lots of customers. There are thousands, and it's not only 2.2, 3.0, and also customers that run successfully with the beta program, for example, for 3.0. So we have lots and lots of customers using it, and I think we have momentum. We will get bigger names and more names on it. One of the most speaking reference stories we have is DreamWorks. The big one, everybody knows them from their graphical movies, yeah, how do you call it? Somebody know the title? I'm thinking of one. Shrek. All right, so you guys know who DreamWorks is. DreamWorks is using REF. and quite successfully. They're a big Red Hat customer since years. They're using Graph not only to run their Oracle application, financial application, as you probably first see on top of the sheet. It's also using Graph in their rendering grid. So the movies you see, like Shrek, thank you for your help by the way, the movies that you see, you know now, Graph is underneath it. Okay. So this is a big customer of ours. Another one is Portal Consoles. Portal Consoles is a part of BNP Paribas, and they used it to virtualize hardware, to consolidate and virtualize hardware of other providers, and they're now consolidating on IBM and Intel hardware. We've got quite some names. Now, back to the Red Hat portfolio. And now it's time, I think, to have the discussion, question and answer session. I have several people here in the room that can help me out with questions, like Tim's Patience. I will introduce you. Tim, please stand up. Tim is also a solution architect here in the Benelux for infrastructure. Myself, all the way from Israel, but now living in Germany. And Frederick is the business unit manager for cloud and knows everything about cloud forms. So, right, the three products we have: virtualization, cloud forms, OpenShift. Gluster should maybe be in it, like a separate product. But what questions do you guys have? First of all, how was your day today? Was it useful? Yeah? Why was it useful?
We'll see.
That sounds like a manager. No, I shouldn't do that. No. What about cloud forms? What do you expect from it? I expect from it that it will automate your virtualized environment, that it will hook into several virtualization products, and that will give you the means to transition from a virtualized environment to a private cloud, to a public cloud, or a hybrid environment. Cloud forms I see as a layer on top of virtualization, which will give you all the means to be resilient, what a cloud needs to do, to address the needs from your business, because no ISV, no application developer is interested in what hardware is the application running on. No application developer, no ISV would like to tune for a special operating system or for a special hardware chipset. We want to make hardware agnostic from the application in the business, and we want you to be flexible, and I think that is what Cloud Forms does. Provides you infrastructure as a service. And OpenShift is, I think, please argue with me if you're not concurring, is, I think, more for the developer side of the house to get fast development and test environments, for developers to get the resources they need, because they always need resources to test and to compile applications, whatever. And it's more for the hosting providers, I think. Do you have questions, or are you all tired and do you want to drink and